Just a few technical reminding notes before we get started. If you experience any issues with your audio or video during the conference, just refresh your browser and that should take care of everything. If you have any questions for our speakers or panel members, please do feel free to post your questions on the video wall, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. We will share with our speaker at the end of the session, and they will reply to you through the video wall or through the email afterwards. If you'd like to connect with our speakers, please move to the home lobby page. You can find the speaker by typing their names under Networking tab on the right-hand corner of your screen. We welcome all of our audience to interact with each other through our networking features. And also, please feel free to tag us on our social media handles with the hashtag AIMDigital. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us in the SME pillar at UAE National SME Program Auditorium. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. Certainly, during the COVID-19 crisis, businesses have been stretched to their limits. Across economies, it has been SMEs that have identified and seized opportunities. What is their secret sauce? How did they do it? And who are they? For this session, we have SMEs entrepreneurs share the success stories and hard lessons they learned for businesses to make it through the crisis and keep things moving forward. Joining our great lineup of speakers today are Ms. Elizabeth Vasquez, CEO and co-founder of WeConnect International, and panelists Judy Sunaski, CEO of Blendwell Chemicals, Mark Sweeney, Senior Account Executive of SAP Ariba, Samar Al-Amro, Associate Director, Strategic Operations of Accenture Middle East, Charlotta Carter, CEO, Managing Partner, and PwC Services Canada and US. Dear speakers, the stage is yours.
Welcome to the SME Secret to Igniting Economic Growth. I'm Elizabeth Vasquez, the CEO and co-founder of WeConnect International, and I am thrilled to be with a very esteemed panel to talk with all of you at the annual investment meeting. And thank you to the Ministry of Economy of the UAE for your leadership in promoting the role of SMEs. We have a really exciting hour together. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. Certainly during the COVID-19 crisis, businesses have been stretched to their limits. Across economies, it has been SMEs that have identified and seized the opportunities. So what is their secret sauce? And how did they do it? And who are they? With me today, I have four really impressive leaders who are on the cutting edge of making sure that small and medium enterprises are able to contribute and benefit from inclusive growth. I'm going to turn it over to each of them to briefly introduce themselves, and then I want them to talk specifically about the work they're doing. Let me first start with Samir Almero. Samir with Accenture, can you please introduce yourself? Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Samar Al-Amro. I'm based in Saudi Arabia. I am covering Middle East, which is mainly Saudi Arabia and UAE, Accenture. And I'm the GS lead, which is the geographical services. It includes all the operational and corporate services for Accenture Middle East. I'm really thrilled and grateful for this opportunity to be with you in this conference. Thank you to Elizabeth and WeConnect, and thank you for the Ministry of Economy of United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Samar, for your leadership role. We sincerely appreciate what you're doing in this space. And next, we have Charlotta Carter. Charlotta.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charlotta Carter, Managing Partner for PwC Technology Solutions in Toronto. We also service the US as well. And our main focus is software development, IT consulting, and staffing. We're also focused on cybersecurity, which is what we decided to pivot into during this time frame. Our biggest accomplishment really is pivoting to a startup company called Lena, which is a type 2 diabetes platform for helping folks manage their own diabetes. We're happy to be here today. I personally am on a lot of boards for small businesses. and particularly for the state of California, the Small Business Advisory Council that's assigned by the governor there, Governor Gavin Newsom. I'm also on the Silicon Valley Leadership Board, which has a lot of policy making for that state as well. And if you're available, come to our next meeting where Anthony Fauci will be our guest speaker. So very heavily involved in small business, growing our business, pivoting, helping other businesses, and mentoring. So glad to be here, and thank you.
Thank you, Charlotta. Super impressive. We're amazed you found the time to be with us today, so thank you. Next, we have Judy Sunaski, also another superstar business owner. Judy, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'm Judy Sunaski. I'm the CEO of Blendwell Chemicals. I've been in the entrepreneurial space most of my life. I've been running Blendwell for the past 14 years and have alongside that started up other smaller businesses in partnership with other people. I started my career in one of the major retailers within South Africa, and have continued to move through various spaces within industry. I've gained sales experience in both the retail sector and within the property sectors, and took over the family business 14 years ago. I'm actively involved in We Connect and WPO, and my passion is behind the female entrepreneurial space.
Fantastic. Thank you, Judy. Very impressive, and looking forward to hearing more about your story as an SME business owner. I'd now like to ask my friend Mark Sweeney with SAP Ariba. Mark, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Elizabeth. And I want to thank the UE and everyone for being so generous with their time and inviting us here. I'm Mark Sweeney. I'm with SAP Ariba. I've been with SAP for the better part of now 16 years, so I guess I'm a lifer here. And seen a lot of change. I'm very active. I manage our federal civilian business area, which includes a lot of the world organizations, the UN, the World Bank, as well as intimately involved with the U.S. Department of State. And it's an amazing time to be working with those type of people, bringing the Ariba skill sets to that market, helping with supply chain collaboration, et cetera. So, very looking forward to this discussion and, the kind of whatever perspective we can lend, to the discussion.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. I think this is a very timely conversation to talk about what is the role of small and medium enterprises and helping to not only survive the current crisis, but to really thrive and to redefine what it means to be successful and to have an inclusive global economy. So I think the perfect person to start us off with on what are the SME secrets to igniting economic growth are certainly, Samar, your experience in so many different aspects as an entrepreneur, as a corporate executive. I would love to hear your thoughts on, what is the SME secret to growth? Samar?
As an entrepreneur also, I didn't introduce myself. I established my business 5 years ago as a juice bar, a detox cleansing juice bar, and that was new in the Saudi market. And my thought about this specific question, the SMEs is representing 90% of the world economic, and over than half of the employers in the world. So the secret is to understand the customer needs and to be up to date with the new technology. And with this pandemic, it shows that the technology was the real arm for any either small or large business to sustain and have resilience plan. So I think being advanced in the technology part is the secret.
That's fantastic. And I think it's notable that you can speak from firsthand experience as a business owner, but also a corporate executive about what's working. How do SMEs get through this situation? Charlotta, I would love to get your perspective as a business owner. What do you think is the secret to igniting economic growth and ensuring that your business is successful?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Well, I have a really short, kind of a catchy one. I have the PPPs of surviving, and that is being positive, being passionate, and being persistent. And when you're looking at those things, to help run your business, and when you're pivoting, you pivot in a space where you can springboard into something new. Always look for an opportunity to utilize digital transformation. So automating what you're doing, making it easier for your customers, and have a vision of billions. What can I deliver to billions of people regularly, over and over again? And always think about this. It's half of something is better than 100% of nothing. If you don't have everything that you need, partner with someone. And so work together towards your vision to grow your business, opposed to sitting on the sidelines because you feel like you're missing something. So be positive, and just be passionate, and just move forward and pull in the resources that you need. Automate and have a vision for billions.
Okay, I am so excited to have a vision for billions. That actually fundamentally, I think, changes how small businesses think of themselves in the world, probably changes their thinking about what to name themselves, what type of incorporation, what kinds of investments they make. So I love the way you're thinking, Charlotta, and encouraging all of us to think big. Judy, what's your secret sauce, and how do we ignite economic growth?
In terms of what Charlotta said, that collaboration and partnering with somebody else. So, I mean, there were three elements that really stuck out for us. And that was, we had the relationships with our stakeholders, both our suppliers and our customers. We had strong relationships, but also people within other networks and within the industry. And, during this time, as the pandemic hit, it became really key to use those resources as much as possible. So what we did was we even teamed up with some of our competitors, because our biggest challenge during the time was supply. And, for us working together would enable that, we could all get what we wanted. So collaboration and partnerships is really absolutely essential. The second thing that was really important and what helped us succeed as the pandemic hit was the fact that we were prepared. So we had laid the groundwork for growth. We had identified areas in the business that had required work. We'd done the work. We were clear on where we wanted to go and also on what we wanted to achieve. I'd had some wonderful support from WeConnect. I've been through the P&G development program and had attended a lot of the WeConnect corporate sessions, and that, as an SME, had opened my eyes to the networks and what was out there. And again, tying into what Charlotta said, there's a much bigger picture, and when you have that exposure, I mean, that is really key for us SMEs, because so often we get buried in our own little worlds and don't have the opportunity to share that. And then I would say the third thing most certainly is agility. So we were able to see what the market required. We were able to react swiftly and correctly because we had the expertise and we didn't have the constraints of the corporates. So we were able to move really fast in what we wanted to achieve and identified those customer needs and went right in there and gave them exactly what they wanted. So that's my viewpoint.
I love that, Judy. So we're not alone in this, right? There are others that are in a similar situation and have figured out some tips and tricks, and they're willing to share it. So go out and find some partnerships. And I love your comment about working with competitors. To survive, we all got to work together. So that is just a wonderful example of how to survive and thrive by looking at all linkages out there. So that's really impressive. Mark, you know, you're in the thick of it. You're talking with governments, you're talking with very large corporations, you're working with small business suppliers. What's the secret sauce?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, I think everyone that just spoke kind of stole my thunder. It is everything you've talked about. It's technology, it's agility, it's nimbleness. I love, you know, Judy's content of the whole concept of what I call co-opetition. You know, when things are going not normal, you have to be creative in how you approach the market. And there can be some strange bedfellows mixed in there, but you find if you all have the same common goal, and that's to grow and survive. You know, that's what the Ariba, you know, that's what Ariba is, you know, tries to help customers doing, you know, and it's really, we're at the forefront, like you said, Elizabeth, in trying to digitize the supplier, you know, the whole, you know, supply chain. The Ariba network itself, it's the largest business to business network in the world in 190 countries, almost 500, you know, almost $500 billion transacted a year. And its whole point is connections. Its whole point is the nimbleness and the speed of those connections. And what we try to, you know, the world's digitizing, governments are digitizing. You know, whoever thought the US federal government's digitized? They are. If they can do it, the whole world's doing it. And the key for a small business is, how do you keep up with that? It's almost like, you know, there's a couple albums that I love from my days in college that never got digitized. It's almost like they don't exist anymore. A small business can't afford not to exist. So the trick is, how does that small business stay nimble? How do they take advantage of technology? And I think that's what we try to do. You know, when I look at where we try to sit with our procurement for a purpose and our billion lives saved, you know, social and, you know, corporate initiatives, is how do we get that technology in the hand of the small woman-owned business? How do we make them able on an even playing field to compete and look like a big? Because, you know, to Judy's point, oftentimes once they're hooked up, they're faster, they're less constrained. They don't have to run it, you know, almost firsthand sometimes, how long it takes my legal to get back to her. You know, companies like Samar and Judy don't have that problem. So once we make the connection, they can actually meet the needs and be more responsive to a creative situation or, you know, a customer. And I think that's what we do is, you know, if not only we can make the connection, then make it even easier for them to comply, to have a company search out a woman-owned business, search out a certain type of activity. You know, I think that's the way. And I think it is technology. I think at the end of the day, technology becomes the great equalizer, you know, that helps a woman-owned business get there faster and be able to sustain themselves. Because, you know, it ain't the first piece of business, it's the ongoing, it's the growth. Nobody's in it to win today. We all want to be growing and fostering more, you know, more opportunities. And I think that's, at the end of the way, that's a secret sauce, using, you know, taking what everybody just said and using technology to make that a seamless and sustainable way to do business.
That's fantastic, Mark. And you mentioned technology as an enabler, a really critical enabler that we didn't have in the past in the way that we have it today. And so we need to be taking advantage of what those tools are and understanding what are the tools and how to leverage them. But you also talked about the people who are using the technology and this concept of inclusive procurement. Samar, I know Accenture has done a lot in this space of helping small and medium enterprises, but also leveraging your own purchasing power. And it sounds like what I heard from the SMEs, you know, they need business opportunities. They need to sell their stuff. So Samar, I'd love to start talking about some of the solutions, because we know there's a long list of challenges, but what are your thoughts?
So from Accenture perspective, actually, Accenture is really focused on helping the small and medium businesses. We are bringing more and more small and medium businesses to our supply chain. We sometimes also have a specific focus on women-owned small and medium businesses. That's something really fantastic. And I see it aligned with the inclusion and diversity initiatives that we have all around the globe. Accenture also are an enabler for the small and medium business. Through our experience, we do some educational mentorship programs for the small and medium businesses through our expertise. And I'm sure within this tough period, the small and medium business, they need the support from the large enterprise like Accenture or SAP Ariba. And this is where we can stand for them and support through our experience, through our best practice. And the digital arm, as you mentioned, is the most essential elements in this period. I think we all have this opportunity to collaborate with small and medium business through digital and digitalizing and automating the process, the supply chain, and always Accenture is happy to do this. I'm sure around the world, but I'm talking about the Middle East here. We are increasing our small and medium business list every once in a while, and we review it quarterly to make sure we are enabling them in our supply chain.
Samar, that's really, I'm sure, wonderful to hear from the small businesses that not only are you leveraging your knowledge and your networks to help small and medium enterprises, you also have your own purchasing power. And Judy,
yes,
I would
use their services, and we love using their services because, as Mark mentioned, they are faster, more responsive, and quicker.
Judy, how does that feel, hearing, two of the largest, most important corporations in the world say how important it is for a small business to become one of their suppliers?
Yeah, well, that is the opportunity that we all out there looking for. So that is very exciting, and to see the ways in which they are able to assist in technology. I come from a chemical manufacturing business. Technology is not our focus. Not that it's not our focus. I mean, you have to have technology within your organization, but technology is not our area of expertise. And to have the corporates on board to provide that expertise. And again, in some of the sessions, I was enlightened as to what was out there. And once you know what is out there, you can go and find it, look for it, and see it as a bigger picture within inside your own organization. So yeah, great stuff.
That's wonderful. And Charlotta, you have so much experience both on the corporate side, but also in working with governments and what governments can do to ignite growth and help small and medium enterprises thrive. I would love your perspective on all of this.
Absolutely. I'll jump right in there because we're knee deep into advocacy, being on the California Small Business Advisory Council. We're on the front line of setting a lot of policy for small businesses. Additionally, as part of the Goldman Sachs 1000 Small Business Voices, as part of the small business enterprise, what we're trying to do is to build a coalition of a lot of the small business leaders. And what we're doing is we're actually surveying a lot of so instead of going with just 10,000 business or 60,000 business, we're trying to build a coalition of 600 to 1 million businesses. And across those, so they're power in numbers, and we need to build a tidal wave of support for small businesses, and that's when our voices will be heard. So working with, Gavin Newsom, working with the Valley, working with Goldman Sachs, those are all areas in which we're working together. And I'm on the front line of all of those. So we are all working on policies, not just to help us out of this crunch that we're in, but we're asking for support for the future. So we want to sustain, thrive, and survive, not just get us out of a hole. So we're looking forward to other opportunities to help businesses grow.
Charlotta, thank you so much for what you're doing on the supply side. It's absolutely critical. Mark, I would love your perspective on what's happening on the demand side. What kinds of resources are available? What are you hearing from folks in terms of what they're wanting and needing from small and medium enterprises at this time?
I want to pick up on a thread of something that Judy just said about being an enabler. I think one of the key things to make sure that small and medium businesses are able to thrive is, Judy used the word enabling. Technology for too long had to be a competency of a business. And it takes you away from your day job, which in Judy's case, selling chemicals or providing, making sure the freshest fruit go into the juice in Samar's case. If you're got to worry about making the printer work or making, I can't connect with my back, it's in the way of what you're trying to do. And I think the key shift of what we try to do is take you out of the IT business, that it's a service that makes you do your job better, make it, just the idea now that a small business can take one of these and approve a PO on this. You're getting an email, you can see it here, you can press yes, flip it, and it goes right back in the system. that's an enabler. And I think that's really the key difference here. That's how we accelerate things, is we get people out of parts of their business that's not their core competencies. And we get them with technology that's enhancing their ability to leverage their core competencies. And I think it sounds like a small shift, but it's a fundamental shift in that it gets people out of having to do things that don't really add to the bottom line. They just support the bottom line. I think at the end of the day, that's how a business grows faster, is because we get them out of businesses that aren't their, front line, their front line. And, I see Judy nodding her head. So I think she might have even a better example than I have.
Judy?
Yes, well, I'd like to add something that we really noticed, and a big shift that happened, during this time now, and that was, Mark, you said this. So we just started communicating in such different ways, to get things to happen, and it just came about that, how do I do this quicker, faster, better? And everything that you could do off your device, again, became a great enabler. So there was a massive change in the way we worked in a very, very short space of time. And it came from necessity.
But I think then when you look at something like the pandemic situation we're all facing, our ability to shift and be nimble and take advantage of and do things new ways is now a critical core competency we need to have. And if technology is in the way, you can't do that. It's very heartwarming to see, the things we think we're trying to are the things that, businesses are taking advantage of. And I think that's, we need to be nimble as we can in these kind of situations. And, that's what ideally we're doing, exactly what Judy talked about. We're doing things in ways we never thought to do before, but they're now becoming the way we're going to do it in the future.
I like to piggyback on that too, Mark, because that's truly what we learned as a Goldman Sachs and Thousand Small Business alum. It's better to work on your business than in your business. And when you have the tools to manage your KPIs at a glance, you're able to make those relationships, grow your market share a lot better than if you're doing the day-to-day operations heads down. You don't see what's coming. You can't prepare. You can't look ahead. You're always, stuck. So there's no real way that you can, move your business out when you're constantly trying to manage the day-to-day in a very arcane way. So working on your business instead of in your business as a leader is a much better way. And when you have those tools to make it easier, it certainly makes it better for a small business.
Can I add something here? Back to Mark's note, doing business with the phone. Actually, when I started my business, I was with SAP. And when I start my business, I start to relate to our customers that we reach to in the sale process. And this is something I feel it as an entrepreneur. When I started my business, everything was done from my mobile, starting from reviewing the supply chain, my vendor quotations, the marketing items, the branding, the social media posts, everything. And I think this pandemic shifted our habits and will shift and will change a lot of customer habits from the physical shopping to online shopping. This is a fact. I'm one of those people. I used to, when I buy something, I like to touch it and feel it in the shops. And I was forced during the pandemic, and I think it was part of the entertainment to do shopping online. So this is now it's my normal way to shop. I don't go to malls anywhere. So as an enabler, SAP was part of my journey, because I learned while I was in SAP how to do the business and manage my business in the beginning when I was establishing it. And now I do also get more experience from Accenture. So that's why I have this combination that Elizabeth is interested in.
So I'm curious to understand, you've all made it very clear that the economy wouldn't have survived to the degree it has without technology. First and foremost, it just wouldn't have been possible. But it also takes a lot of innovative users, right? The technology is useless unless the people are motivated to use it and they're finding strategic ways to use it. So Mark, I'm curious to understand from your perspective on the demand side, what are you hearing from what it is buyers are wanting and looking for, especially if vendors can't come knock on their door and show them physically their products or services, and they can't lure them into their shops as easily? What are you seeing on the demand side?
So I think the analogy I would say it's like trying to watch a TV show that you're familiar with on mute. It's like you're not getting the full experience. You're missing something, and it's frustrating to not know what someone's saying in that show. And I think on the demand side, you hit it on the head. They can't come walk around. How do I create that same demand? How do I get that same access? And I think they've had to be creative. I mean, I think at the end of the day, go back to what Samar said, is like it's kind of got the same pieces and parts of a shopping experience, just not in the same order anymore. And I think what the pandemic did was kind of break the equation apart in pieces, but we got the luxury of not necessarily having to put those pieces back together the way they were, because now we could put them in an order we can do now. I'm an online shopper as well. I like touching things. You know what? I realized what vendors did, especially retail vendors in the Ariba network did, is it's free shipping now. So now I can not only free shipping to me, but free shipping back. So I can get that experience, buy 4 versions of the same shirt in 2 sizes. It comes here, I try it. I've heard from people that the only mirror that never lies to me is my own. The ones in the stores always do. Now it's my mirror. It's actually a better shopping experience. And no business, when I'm done, I slap it back up, send it back. So I think from the demand side, it's how to realize that need didn't go away, but how do I access it now in a different way? And I think it's with technology. There's data mining, there's habits. Understanding is how people are trying to shop, how they're trying to reach us and leverage the way they already are trying to go to market. I think that's how demand does it, is you had to some degree, stores were lazy, vendors were lazy because they had a way they were doing it for years and never twice. You can't be lazy anymore. You got to outwork somebody. And I think that's, from a demand side, you've got to get closer to your customer. I think technology is what allows you to do that. You can get closer because you can see their buying habits. You can see their demand habits. If they bought this kind of chemical and they're in that business, maybe suggest, hey, have you guys ever thought of doing it this way too? Because we're doing that for somebody else. I think that is how you keep driving demand.
And as bad as it's been for small businesses, Mark, do you see that because supply chains had so many interruptions, there are actually new opportunities for small and medium enterprises to enter, especially local ones? Have you seen any kind of a difference?
I mean, I do. And it's like, again, in any strategic thinking, a strength is also a weakness. A big company's strength is their assets and their capital and their ability to be sustainable. But their weakness is they're slow and they can't react. And there's too much of this still left in their supply chain, where you go with Samar said, the mindset was immediately go digital. And I think a smaller company, if they take the mindset that Samar was saying, is put yourself out of your comfort zone a bit and be digital. Always ask yourself, because the minute something is digital, then it's repurposable. It can be on one of these. It can be you can use it in a video clip. You can put it to YouTube. There's other ways you can, and I think especially the way young people shop is totally different. The way my daughter shops, I didn't know you could, I thought TikTok was fun. No, that's a fashion, place for her. Seeing what other people are wearing and then going through that to find the vendor. I think once you're digital, those become opportunities to you. And I think a small business actually is better positioned to do that, because I don't have to digitize things. The pace at which a large vendor can get to be able to handle that kind of commerce is maddeningly slow. Where a small business who knows the demand, or where the demand is, depending on which side you're on, knows who the customers are, what they are, or what they want. I think they're actually at an advantage there. But the key is you just got to keep. It's an effort game at that point, and it's just outwork somebody. But I think technology allows you to do that.
Well, I love what you're doing in this space. I love what you're doing with We Connect International to make it easier for large organizations to find women-owned businesses around the world in particular. And Samar, you've been a part of this initiative with Accenture, helping to lead the way, advising corporations and governments on how to be more inclusive in their purchasing practices to find these innovative small businesses that might be underutilized. They might be women-owned, but they might be ethnically diverse. They might be LGBT, they might be people with disabilities who own these businesses. What is your advice to the world about how to leverage the SMEs that are out there that they may not know exist?
Actually, through our initiative, Responsible Business, we are trying to bring more SMEs to our platform or to our supply chain. And we are leveraging this relation to show other customers or clients what we are able to do with small and medium businesses. For example, in our facility, we are doing so many engagement with HR facility, HR SMEs, so service provider, marketing service provider, even translation. We do some, even through the corporate citizenship engagement, when we need some catering, it is really faster to get someone who's doing small business than going to a chain of restaurant or a hotel to provide that catering in the office. That was before the pandemic for sure, but I mean, this is part of our practice. We do a lot of, as I mentioned, educational and mentorship for the SMEs owners. And now we are also leveraging the relation between the small, medium, law firms, bringing them also to engage with our legal team, because again, this is something we need to show the other client how the small and medium business can ace and give you more flexibility in doing the things differently.
I love it. And Charlotta, you're talking with a lot of the decision makers. How are you helping to educate everyone about the urgency of not sitting back and waiting to see what happens, but being very proactive and leveraging what the small and medium enterprise community has to offer to help us all get out of this situation and thrive and create the jobs that we need?
Are you talking about on the government level or just small businesses in general?
You have so much experience working with so many different stakeholders. What suggestions do you have to help everyone understand the urgency and that we have power? There are things that we can do to make the best of this situation and turn it into something positive.
Yeah. So you know what, for resources that are trying to help small businesses, we give it right back to them, because you say small businesses are the backbone of the economy. Okay, then walk the talk, help us out, make sure you get those connections, give us what we need to be able to do that, because we do. I mean, we are the largest, suppliers of employees, especially locally. And so if we are doing that, then make sure that we have what we need to connect us to the resources, dollars, capital, opportunities that we need. So on that side, if you're a small business and you're looking to really grow, look for that niche, because just like that's been talked about before, large companies have an advantage that they have more capital. They're having the same problems that small businesses are too, and sometimes they can rise above it and throw money at it where we can't. But on the flip side of that, you can move a little bit faster. You can partner with somebody. You can provide a niche that will eventually grow into a larger business. So if you are, on the government side, or if you're all on the corporate side, look to those small businesses to help them grow, because the supply chain is, at the corporate level, your customers are your vendors, your customers are your employees. When you don't have customers, you're not growing either as a corporation. So, everybody's figured that out. Once the supply chain dried up, corporations are falling like flies, because the underlying support of small businesses and consumers are drying up. You got to keep that going. If you don't keep that going, it doesn't matter how big your company is. You don't have any customers.
And Charlotta, I think in your case, it's really literally a life and death situation where you have people who are diabetic, and if they don't have access to you and what your small business does, they're not going to do well at a time when they don't have easy access to healthy food and ways to monitor and check their health. And so the world needs small businesses like you to be hugely successful. I mean, are you getting the help you need?
Absolutely. We looked at this as originally I was diagnosed as a diabetic in 2017. Didn't really realize it was a big market. 100 million people in North America, 500 million people worldwide. I was able to get off the insulin with the program that we produced. We've pitched to SoftBank, we've pitched to Andreessen Horowitz. A lot of great groups have come together to help us. And we looked at this and said, I use my own, I eat my own lunch. I looked at how can I help 1 billion people with this, right? So I'm not the only one suffering. And we have looked at this and say, everybody has to eat. Diabetics have to eat healthy. And a lot of the areas in which we went into were more the underserved areas because they were the hardest hit. So we've made relationships with incubators. We've made relationships with universities. We've made relationships with other diabetic clinics. And that's the real key to it, is that a lot of the places where we are into are considered food insecurity areas, which means there's not healthy food for miles around. You've got junk food everywhere. And so going online, the pandemic we originally, when the pandemic came in, we got, oh my God, we're doomed. Then we looked at it and said, everybody still has to eat. Everybody can order online. So we changed the dynamics of what we were doing and changed our algorithm to match that, made some new partnerships to get that food out to people that really needed it and deserved to manage their type 2 diabetes. So we've gotten a lot of support from both the government level as well as some of the other corporations that really understand that diabetes it's a worldwide global issue. We're just, in the North America space, and we're working out some of the bugs, but we are very highly respected in using our technology to move forward. And we thought we were doomed.
Well, congratulations, but congratulations to all of us and our, friends and family who are impacted by this. And thank you for what you're doing. And I hope it won't be limited to North America for long. And Judy, you have also been very innovative as Benwell Chemicals. What's it been like for you in South Africa? Are you getting the support you need, and how are you leveraging the resources that are out there? And do you sort of have a wish list for you and other small enterprises?
I always have a wish list. So, but things were a little bit more tricky on our side in terms of government leverage support for themselves. I think more than anything out here in South Africa. But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been opportunity for us. And in terms of innovation, again, it's about knowing our client, knowing what our clients have looked for, and collaborating and partnerships. And in the time, we brought 5 new products to market. We would normally do that over a 2-year period. We did it in 3 months, so so it was just about putting it together and listening to where the opportunity is, so client connection is essential, and we look for that in absolutely every avenue. So good old-fashioned telephone call, WhatsApp communication, email, whichever avenue it is, we're watching them all, because people are communicating in all those different ways and still want to communicate. So, we let you choose the way you want to communicate with us, and we respond in all ways. So that's been a significant change for us lately as well.
That is fantastic. Samar, what have we missed? What are some tips and tricks that you can share with us that'll help us to get from where we are today to where we all need to be?
Do you need my advice as an entrepreneur or as Accenture corporate?
I love the fact that you're able to do both. So I defer to you.
Wasn't easy. Thanks God I have good partners around me. As an entrepreneur, I will give you the advice, which is listen to your customer, listen to their needs. There is always a demand, and there is always a way to meet that demand. And if you are smart enough, you will be unique in replying or accommodating that demand. And the more unique you are, the more customers you will have. That is the differentiator.
I love it. So what is it that you can offer that makes you different, that adds value? And I think that's something that small businesses sometimes forget, and because they're so passionate about what they do, they want to talk about who they are and what they do, but really when they're knocking on the door, the first step is to, seek to understand what is the problem of the person whom I'm talking to, and how can I help them with a solution. And that's a really important strategy, but can be difficult when you're not able to fly to a potential customer and explain that. So we've talked a lot about how to leverage technology to make those connections, but in reality, it's still not very easy. So do any of you have any additional suggestions for how to make the best of this situation and leverage the tools that are out there? Are there any tools out there that we haven't talked about that would be helpful to small and medium enterprises?
Why don't we talk about the social media tools and KPI tools and things? I just think it's your strategy. Using your own strategy to look at and step back and be able to look at a situation. Because sometimes a tool may not be able to read the tea leaves the way you can as a business owner. And, we originally decided, we were going to go into the larger cities in Toronto, San Francisco, New York, but we found out that the largest need were in some of the underserved areas. So we utilized actually some of the partners that we had in those spaces had better tools because they knew their customer base and their audience, and that's helped us improve our approach to it as well too. So sometimes it's just better to step back, look at the situation, and use your own experience and leadership skills and make a decision on what strategy or what path you want to take.
So if I may, Elizabeth, in addition to that, there's a step back and obviously have a view of the bigger picture. But at the other side of the spectrum is that dive in, give it a try something new, test the waters, check the response, and if you fail fast and move on to the next thing.
I agree.
That was kind of where I was thinking is that, it's kind of ABN, always be networking. There's no one's ever going to say I'm in too many communities. I have too many connections. And I think it's that relentlessness because look, big or small business, everybody got knocked off balance back in March. Everybody was affected by this somehow. So everybody is trying to get their balance back, which means everybody has to rely on new ways. Whether it's a large network like the Ariba network, if it's a more use-specific network like the We community, which is something we wholeheartedly support. Don't rely on just two. The more networks you're in, the more ability you have to find someone to a co-opetition situation, a new way to go to. And I think that's just it. I've been carrying this around forever. It says try, there is no try. There's do or not do. And I think you don't get the luxury of not doing. You have to do. And I think the key here is just, whether it's something as simple as, look, coffee shop get-togethers have been recreated online in Zoom happy hours. Who thought that was going to happen? Well, they're still going on. And people are starting to leverage those for actual more productive use than just connecting with friends. I think community is everything. And the more you drive and the more connections you have, and that is a core competency of what you're doing, I think that's the way for small, that just does nothing but enhance small business success. Because like you said, you're going to keep making mistakes. Like Judy said, make your mistakes quick and fast. And the more connections you have to figure out which connections are the ones that stick, which I think that's the best way to go. I think that's the secret sauce that we're learning right now.
Kumar?
As an entrepreneur, it wasn't easy in the beginning, but my learned lesson was, if you feel that your strategy is not working, step back and review it and redo it again. We spent 2 years reviewing our go-to-market, although we are a small business, but we spent 2 years going reviewing the go-to-market strategy, the branding strategy. And once we kicked off the business, we thought it is really a little bit a niche market for us at that time. So we start to give more thought about it, and we wanted to be more exposed. So the word of mouth, the connection, as Mark said, being available and presence in so many events, even though it's a little bit costly in the beginning to sponsor any event or to pay a rent for a booth, but we needed to expose ourselves to the community, to be introduced, especially as a detox juice bar in Saudi. That time it was really hard for people to understand. It was part of it also educating the customer about the benefits and the healthy lifestyle, and we use the social media on that. So you have to be aware of all the needs of the customer, also for your business to thrive and to be exposed to the right level of customers. That's it.
Well,
I have one more. I just want to add to the conversation too on getting in and getting out. I totally agree with that, but small businesses really need to be careful about getting into too many businesses at the same time or too many areas at the same time. You will exhaust all of your resources, all of your dollars, and that's disastrous. So I think there's a fine line that you have to balance between, where you are and getting that feedback when you need it and not overextending yourself. So I totally agree that you need to, move in as many markets as you can possibly do realistically, but please be careful not to overextend your resources and your dollars. So that's just a war wound that I'd like to pass on.
Thank you. No, it is focused. It's a focused bat, but
Yeah.
we have to expose ourselves to as much as we can from customer categories, let's say.
Cast the net wide. All of you have shared so much wisdom based on, all of us, a long time working in these spaces. And I think that hopefully the participants have learned a few new things, a few new tips and tricks about how to thrive in this new world, and some of the SME secrets to igniting economic growth. And I just want to thank one more time Charlotta, Judy, Samar, Mark. Thank you for the work that you do every day to help small businesses thrive, for the work you do in leading by example, how you share your best practices, but also leverage your purchasing power with all types of businesses that can add value to what you do. And I encourage others around the world to, use the services and the products that these amazing leaders provide, because they clearly have some of that secret sauce. So I think at this time, I just want to thank once again the Ministry of the Economy for the UAE, and to AIM for including us in this important conversation about the role of SMEs. And so I will turn it over to our colleagues at AIM to provide us with some closing thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, experts, for bringing us such insightful sessions. Hope to inspire and encourage our SME business owners to use those difficult times to develop a holistic view of their business and understand how they can work better with their talents, customers, and suppliers. We are glad to have those wonderful sessions to conclude the day. Ladies and gentlemen, may I thank you all for your active participation in our conference. I hope you enjoy the SME Pillar sessions. Dear attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to post your questions on the video wall. We will share with our speakers and they will reply to you directly or through email. If you'd like to connect with our speakers, please move to the home lobby page. You will find the speakers by typing their names under Networking tab on the right hand of your screen. We welcome our audience to interact with each other on our chat wall. Please also do not forget to tag us on our social media handles with the hashtag AIMDigital.